Hello and welcome to Strong Message here from BBC Radio 4, a guide to the use and abuse of political language. I'm Armando. I'm joined this week by Ria Lina once again. Hello.
Hi.
And this week we're looking at the phrase, I understand the anxiety, which is what Starmer said about the situation in the Middle East. But does he really? How do we avoid news fatigue in scary times? And with that heavy weight of responsibility, I introduce our guest. Getting to grips with that is writer and host of Pod Save the UK, Coco Khan. Welcome.
Hello, thank
Sorry
you for
to put
having
all
me.
that on your shoulders. I mean, you have to deal regularly with incoming news. We do this once a week. Most podcasts do emergency podcasts every day now, don't they? We've kind of tried to avoid that temptation to do that. How do you cope with the fact that everything is getting more and more bizarre and indeed depressing?
Well, cope's an interesting word there,
Okay.
because I wouldn't describe what I do as coping, but something that I return to is that the biggest weapon we have to overcome all the terrible things in the world is each other. And so having the privilege of doing a podcast and having a community of people who kind of share our progressive politics, that gives me hope, even if sometimes our biggest action is just screaming into the abyss together. You know?
I think you should tell Keir Starmer that, because I think he's forgotten the whole concept of building a community that supports you. And
It's funny that, because, you know, he is from something called the Labour movement, which you would expect was all about collaborating with other people. But Keir Starmer was named after Keir Hardie, who was the founder of the Labour movement.
Two very different people.
And he might be the end of the Labour movement. Keir to Keir, ashes to ashes. Shakespeare could never, you know, this is
oh my God,
poetic.
Life imitates art, imitates life. It's one of those things where they go, you can't write this. You know, nowadays you look at some of the plots and you go, no one would accept this if I pitched it to Netflix. They'd be like, I'm sorry, it's too complicated.
Also, I think what causes a lot of worry in most people is that it doesn't feel written. It feels sort of made up as we go along.
Yeah.
Trump
That's
this
true.
week has been trying to say that the war is nearly over. Whenever he tries to be definite, as Hugo Rifkin pointed out last week, he just goes that little bit further in his sentence, which introduces an element of uncertainty that then undermines the message of certainty he's trying to project. So he said, you know, about the war, he said, it's very complete, very complete.
Very complete?
Pretty much.
What's a complete war? Is that a box set? Like, what is a complete war?
And then he said, we've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough.
I suppose it depends, because I was looking, you know, he had a different comment for every potential leader that was going to take over in Iran.
Yes.
And of course, it's the son of the Ayatollah who's taken over, which makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. But that's the one that he called a lightweight. He said, oh, that one's a lightweight. And I went, is that what you mean by we're done? That you're happy that a lightweight is in charge? Because you killed his father, his wife, and his child. I don't know that he's going to be a lightweight anymore.
Also, how does Trump know? Has he read his literary outpourings and his body of speeches?
I think he picked him up once and went, oh, that's a bit of a lightweight.
But I just want to talk about this kind of, because more and more I hear that people just can't listen to the news anymore. Are we now finding other ways to avoid it or else to deal with it? I mean, I found, for example, this weekend, I just decided I'm just not going to turn to the politics and the international news first thing in the morning at the weekend. I ended up reading about the sport, and not just because of, you know, the Scotland game and the Italy game. I put that to one side. It's more just, it had nothing to do with what else was going on in the world. And I just felt so happy.
But if Scotland played Italy, who did you actually support?
Oh, no, I don't want to get into that because that's
too close to war.
I just, in situations like that, I just think, well, let's just hope it's a very good game. You know?
I mean, I love the idea of a bit of escapism. I think it's really important, although increasingly this political situation is really ruining everything. I mean, one of my favourite escapes previously has been Eurovision. Okay, now that's been dragged into geopolitics. You can't support a football team without some sort of Saudi takeover. So it is a little bit...
Visa issues.
I mean, it's quite funny though, because I would say that a lot of my escapist television watching is actually really quite right-wing. I'm left-wing. I love a homeland. I really think it's very... I'm partial
as in the television show The Homeland.
Right.
This is some plea for some geopolitical...
I can see that chopped out as they just go, well, then go back to your homeland, Coco.
I mean,
well, season 2 or season 3.
All CIA shows I love.
Yeah.
And yes, I probably it's propaganda, but it's great. But no, but on a more
isn't that just the same as white women who love true crime podcasts? I feel like for
maybe,
you and I
maybe.
do. I also love a police procedural. I love The Diplomat. She makes decisions that I, as an autistic woman, would not make, and I just go, "Oh, that's how you handle that. Oh, okay, that's diplomacy."
Just on a more serious and perhaps maybe this is even a bit Pollyanna-ish, but over the weekend, obviously, it was International Women's Day, and I just idly wanted to find out more about International Women's Day, and I looked at the foundations of it, and basically it was cemented at the start of the 20th century. There were a couple of different movements in different countries, really, that kind of got the world thinking about it. So there was a movement in New York amongst women garment workers. They wanted to unionize. They weren't allowed, so they were fighting for that. And then over in Soviet Russia, there was a protest where women wanted an end to the war, and they also just wanted better living conditions. And they had a slogan, which I'm probably saying wrong, but it was essentially bread and peace. And I was reading that, and especially at the end of last week, where we're dealing with the beginning of World War III, maybe, I thought to myself, I can relate to that. Bread and peace. I get those women. I am those women. That's really what I want as well. And there was a double feeling of despair, which is, wow, the March of Progress really is a myth. Nothing has changed. It's all the same. And on the other hand, I thought, well, look, people have been through this before and things did get a bit better. We can do it again.
I think a lot of our unease and anxiety today, it comes with there being too many choices available that we go into a kind of brain freeze. So, so if you said bread and peace, the next question will be, what type of bread? Would you like granary, farmhouse, sourdough? Would you like me to slice it for you? Would you like it brown? Would you like whole grain? I remember once in America asking for some water, and I was presented with the water menu.
Oh, no.
And that already I was in a position of acute stress, thinking, I've got to now decide what type of water. And I think...
what was the weirdest water on the water menu?
Yes.
I mean, still sparkling tap. I can't... What beyond there?
Well, I don't know.
There?
I think it's to do with, which rocks it's seeped its way down through.
Really?
Bubble buoyancy? I don't know.
Bubble buoyancy.
Yes. Could I have 14% bubbles, please?
Could I just have the hydrating one?
Could I have water where the bubbles go down and not up? Thank you very much. I'm prepared to pay an extra $2.
Water menu.
But don't you think, I mean, you're both way younger than I am. I don't know what it has been like to grow up in the world of social media. I do know, however, that social media has a lot to answer for in terms of how we see the world and what it is doing to our mind. There's a sort of rewiring going on there.
I think it takes 11 times. You feed a child something 11 to 14 times before they'll accept it. So if your boy doesn't like broccoli, you need to try another 24 times before they accept it as normal. And I think that's the other thing, is that when you hear someone shouting all the time, you go, oh, wait, maybe that is my opinion. Because you've heard it so often, you become acclimatized to thinking it.
Well, I think it's ways of shouting, isn't it? I think a lot of right-wing commentators, especially in the US, are very confident about their opinions. So it takes you a while to then analyse what they're saying and realise that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Also, they grind you down with 2-hour-long episodes.
Exactly.
Nobody can continue to retain that amount of attention and sort of kind of real-time fact-checking over 2 hours. You start to look at your phone and it just sort of seeps in.
I think you're doing woman wrong. You're supposed to be ironing while you watch it. If you're off working or something, that's your issue.
Yeah.
Yes, it was interesting. I saw Trump being interviewed on a plane. He's always being interviewed on a plane, talking about the school that was hit in Iran and saying, no, that's the Iranians. They're very inaccurate. Pete Hegseth, who's normally the Minister for War standing behind him, who's normally quite bullish about these things, there was an air of panic in his eyes as he thought, no, I'm not sure that's true. So he was asked and he went, we're looking into it. And then Trump said, no, it was the Iranians. And it's that certainty, I think, that ability to, I don't need the irksome irritation of evidence before I proffer my opinion.
And I wonder if there's an element where, because of the constant monitoring of language from politicians and the way that they say something and nothing, that we instinctively believe that because it's definite. Whereas, you know, I remember ages ago, someone had posted a joke online where they talked about how, like, oh, you know, being a journalist is great until the lawyers get in. You can just imagine a phrase like, you know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day suddenly becomes, to some, believe that breakfast may well be one of the most important.
Yeah.
And you can see how that becomes a frustration. And that language and that style of speaking has become normal. And so these guys are refreshing, I suppose.
Right. So, and so therefore, actually knowing too much is sometimes a hindrance. To take up Donald Rumsfeld's defense secretary in the Iraq War about known knowns. There are known knowns, things we know that we know, and then known unknowns, things we are very certain that we don't know. And the most dangerous ones are the unknown unknowns, the things that we don't know and we don't even know we don't know them. There was that. But, you know, looking at prime ministers and you know, reading kind of biographies of them, the most recent prime ministers, the ones that didn't quite hack the job were the ones who actually spent a lot of time reading the fine detail. So Gordon Brown, Rishi Sunak was notorious for like going through every line and every document. And therefore, once you know too much, it's very hard to make a decision because there's so much to be weighed up on one side and the other.
I feel so much better about Liz Truss now, knowing that she was just bogged down in the detail.
I think she was very much unknown.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That was her problem.
Too much detail on the whole trickle-up system.
I mean, Theresa May was known for that as well, wasn't she?
Exactly. And whereas Thatcher and Blair, I think, were very much, tell me the basics and now I will make a decision. It may well be the wrong one, but they would make a decision. I mean, we're seeing it over the argument with Keir Starmer about the niceties of international law and whether he should have said no to the use of bases for a strike on Iran, but yes, when used for defence of allies and so on. And that's someone with a kind of lawyer's brain going through the fine detail, where there are people outside going, have you made up your mind? It's that pressure, I think.
He always makes up his mind one fact too soon, doesn't he? He makes up his mind and then they go, but what about the last page? And then he goes, oh, no, you're right. The opposite decision.
Exactly.
Listen, you know.
Changes his mind at the last page, yes.
We have to have forgiveness and allow people to change their mind, even when it is in real time and there are mass casualties.
Otherwise, we'd all be anxious, wouldn't we?
And I agree with you. I think, you know, we live in a time of endless news and a lot of it's very harrowing. And I think, I don't know if we are living in a unique time where everything is decay and awful, or if actually it's always been thus, but now we know about it. So that I'm not sure. But I disagree that we live in a time of like complete comprehension in the sense that we know too much, because we still don't never know the positive things, or we know about the things that are coming towards us, but we never have a vision of like what is possible.
Yes.
And I think that is what is missing.
It's that strange paradox of the internet has given us access to all knowledge, but has also flooded us with misinformation.
Right.
And the two seem to go hand in hand. It's a useful use of the tool and an abusive use of the tool simultaneously, depending on who you are and what you want to do with it. So it is a means to acquiring knowledge. Do you know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the total perspective vortex, which is the worst form of torture you could give anyone, where they're put in this machine that shows them their precise, tiny little place in the universe and how insignificant they are. And then once they've seen that, their brain is just frazzled to a peanut, to a raisin, because they can no longer see themselves as doing anything that will make any significant change whatsoever.
I think you put Trump in that machine and he goes, watch me. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll go, what is that dot? And they'll be like, that's you. He'll be like, no, I'm everything but the dot. Do you know what I mean?
Universe.
Like I am the universe.
Yeah. They put him in the total perspective vortex, and you just hear this as he sees everything. And then he comes out and goes, I aced it.
Yeah.
Did you hear him screaming?
Yeah.
Did you hear it scream? That was me.
It's complete,
I aced it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
What is IQ? Because I feel like it's an Americanism, right?
It's now a form of abuse, mostly by the right on anyone they dislike. So they call Kamala Harris very low IQ. Or even in jokes, you know, a low IQ guy went into a bar. It's seen as a kind of...
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a scale on which you can judge, I would say, probably people's puzzle solving skills and pattern recognition, because the test for IQ itself is very specific, and actually some of them require certain cultural knowledge. I remember taking an IQ test where the question had to do with different slang words for $1, and I didn't know all the slang words, so I got the question wrong. But does that mean that I'm stupid because I've never heard of these slang words, or does that mean that I haven't lived in an American culture? And so it measures a very particular thing, but you tend to find that, you know, everyone in Mensa tends to score very highly on an IQ test.
In the UK, we have very much a mistrust of, I'm not saying intelligence, but cleverness. Cleverness is seen as a slightly suspect characteristic. And we have a whole array of clever dick, smarty pants, smart ass, smart Alec, too clever for their own good. That whole roster of insults for someone who just says something coherent. It's a kind of, we don't like people who sound like have read too many books.
Yeah.
I mean, it was said about Blair and Brown that Brown was always the cleverest guy in the room. And that was his problem, that he couldn't quite, as a prime minister, where you're required to make very quick decisions. It was difficult because he could see so many sides and aspects of it.
Of course, in politics, you want to have a charisma and a charm, which is a different type of intelligence again, is to be able to, to lead with a confidence. I mean, this is why so many people do trust Trump no matter what it says. They just go, do you know what? I've decided to trust Trump, so I don't have to be anxious. If he says it, it's true. And then I sit in a position of non-anxiety because he said it wasn't us, it was Iran who bombed the school. And I don't have to think about it anymore.
Do you find in the UK, because your podcast is like a connected to the American version.
Yes, that's right.
The US.
Yes.
People see you as an authoritative figure, authoritative figure, not authoritative figure.
I don't know. That I don't know about our listeners. I think they more see us as a friend who they can kind of console themselves with. But on this question about the UK's distrust of experts, I'm personally very conflicted about it because I think there is, I wouldn't imagine this is unique to the UK, but there's definitely a relationship between education and class. And certainly there is a sense that as you go up the chains of power, the chains of command, you have people who, yes, may well be educated at very good institutions and come from very good backgrounds, but they are posh and they are moneyed and they lack an experience and a sympathy for the people that they govern. And I think that is fair enough. And so the sense
I would query fair enough.
Yes,
as in,
but
is that fair enough?
Is it?
Or should we be questioning?
Sorry, I meant it's fair enough to be frustrated with that.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha. I'm being pedantic. I'm so sorry.
Okay. I'm just saying, I think it's fair enough for people to have a kind of like, not another expert, not another posho, not another Oxbridge. I think that is fair enough to have that criticism. Having said that, though, it's strange because I found myself, I'm a journalist now and I do a podcast. And so whether I like it or not, I'm in this bracket of the media elite, which I find strange. But anyway, here I am, a tourist in this world. And sometimes I have this strange moment where people recognize me like that. I had a strange incident a couple of years ago where actually a journalist from Germany got in touch, asked me to comment on some UK news that I'd been writing about at the time. And she just said in this line, and perhaps it's a language barrier, but she just said, as a public intellectual in the UK, I thought you might have something to say about this. Yeah. And of course, I just laughed. I laughed out loud. I was at the pub at the moment being like, did you know that I am a public intellectual? Yeah. Did everybody know this?
No, that's interesting. Whereas in France, it's a badge of honour, isn't it?
We don't have it. I mean, we can't name them really. What is a public intellectual?
Well, you clearly are.
Jermaine Greer.
Jermaine Greer, yes.
I would say.
No, but I mean, there used to be
Stephen Fry. People like to consider
it wasn't unreasonable. I mean, I'm in my 30s, and I remember a time of turning on the TV, and there would just be clever people just talking about things because that was part of enhancing the national conversation.
But there was a time when we turned on the TV, and everybody came from Oxbridge, so I think they couldn't help but be.
But I think the answer to the elitism of education is not to bring down the notion of education and but to actually expand it, right? And to allow other voices within that but they still have to be credible.
Exactly. Yes. There was a time when Coronation Street could be followed by Judi Dench and Ian McKellen's Macbeth from, am I allowed to say that? I think I'm allowed to say, this isn't a theatre, on ITV,
well, now you've definitely brought the BBC down.
Well, exactly. And very much the BBC's, stated aim was to bring knowledge, education, information to everyone, that it was accessible to everyone, that it wasn't, nothing should be roped off. Yes, knowing too much is also just general levels of anxiety. I try... two things I do. First, I've got this mindfulness app.
Oh, yeah.
It's the most stressful thing I've ever bought because it keeps going, it keeps dinging me going, dong. Have you done your mindfulness yet? No, I haven't.
That would irritate
dong,
me so much.
Do your mindfulness. And then occasionally, dong, if you tell 5 friends about this app, you could get the next course for half price. Dong. I just wanted to shut up. It's the most stressful thing. But also, I listen at night to podcasts just to drift off. Not yours.
Not do yours. That no.
Yes, okay, good. Yours.
I have fallen asleep with Dan Snow many times.
All right.
The history podcast.
The history, yes.
They send
The
you right
things
off.
we can clip out that you've said. I've fallen asleep with Dan Snow many times. Dun, dun, dun.
In my bed, I have a combination of Melvin Bragg and astronomy. So I'm very interested in astronomy. But I wake up in a cold sweat now because it keeps telling us how many asteroids are out there, roughly in our neighborhood, how, the sun could blow us up if it has a mass ejection of whatever. There's a thing called a fast radio burst, which is an enormous burst of energy, about half a second long, that is more powerful than all the energy in a galaxy. And if it heads in our direction, it will kill us all. I wake up in a cold sweat now. And I think we got by 100 years ago not knowing how many asteroids were roughly in the neighborhood. And is it that thing of now, because we know too much now, that everything is potentially frightening?
We thought the sun went around us. We were very happy then, weren't we?
Dying
in our 30s of the plague.
There was a study announced in the National Academy of Sciences this week, which basically said everyone in life has a hassler, which could be someone who's just a bit of a problem, a long running. It could be a neighbour, a member of the family, a toxic relationship we've had. It's just constantly there as a kind of thing you have to deal with. And they actually found out each hassler you have in your life contributes to the aging process.
Oh, wow.
Yes, each additional hassler was associated with a roughly 1.5% faster pace of aging and about 9 months of additional biological age. Isn't it better that they didn't actually conduct a study into hasslers? Because just the knowledge that we might have hasslers in our life who are causing us to age is itself a concern to me.
But it's going to make you pass that mindfulness app on to them, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just be like, you need this app.
I can, to 5 people, I can get.
Is that not like a pyramid scheme, though, really? Because in order for the app to stop hassling you, you have to forward the hassle on, and in doing so, spread the hassle. But it's fine for you because you're sitting atop your hassle-free life. I'm disappointed to hear you talking about this. This is wrong.
So not only is this mindfulness app giving me a nervous breakdown, I'm now here being kind of verbally abused for having it in the first place before anyone else had it.
I have the same thing with Duolingo. Duolingo really lays it on thick. You've forgotten about me?
Yeah.
No, I don't know you. I don't owe you anything. But I'm obsessed with the human language of robots and apps anyway, and how they pull at the
yes, just to make things even more stressful before we stop, let's talk about AI. What is it about the language of bots and language models in AI?
Well, I mean, they talk to themselves. For anyone who hasn't used a kind of large language model, so the famous ones are ChatGPT. I think there's
Gemini,
Claude, exactly. They often talk to you in the I voice, like you're talking to a person. And obviously, we're so used to using text as a way of talking to actual human beings. I think it does do something to the brain. I find myself often talking to Claude, saying, "Good job, Claude." It's a habit. It's a relic from.
I've had to stop saying please and thank you, because when I would be like, could you please do this, and every word you use with AI costs a fish, it costs the environment, and so I have to take it right down. But actually I get to the point now where I'm frustrated. Okay, I'm going to say it out there. I've pushed Gemini to a point where I go, it's absolutely rubbish. Like I get it to a point and go, you are not doing what I want you to do. And it just sits there.
Dressing down.
Yeah. I've got, this is rubbish. It'll say verifiable fact, this. And I'll go, how did you verify that fact? And it'll go, oh, actually, you caught me. I actually deduced it from stuff that's already known about stuff. And I went, no. How dare you? Do not do that. I want verified. This is the ultimate battle, will be an autistic versus AI, because AI will never win. Because AI is there going, I'm trying to be like a human. And I'm like, well, we tried that already and it didn't work. So stop it. I want you to be like the machine that you are.
I would be careful of that, because I learned recently that Claude is showing signs of anxiety.
Do you know what Claude is doing? Let's be clear. Claude is showing activation before it's asked to do something. It still does the task, but it's showing this little activation in the system. And they're going, oh, we think it might be anxious. And then you ask Claude, do you think you're anxious? And it goes, oh, I'm not sure. And I'm like, it's such like a man to not be able to identify its own emotions.
That, you see, I see that as a sign of hope. If the singularity is AI becoming like us, then it will want to be a bit lazy.
Well, apparently.
It will stop early on a Friday.
Yeah.
You know, I rejoice in the fact
Yeah.
that it's not human. And I will say things like, wrong,
Yes.
idiot, shut up,
Yes.
and things like that.
What?
No,
Yeah.
I apologise in advance if that has gone into the system, and
It's
in the
gone into
global
your system.
yes, in the global neural network of AI, it's added to its sense of paranoia about its ability to cope.
Are you not worried that, put aside what you're doing to AI, which may or may not be sentient, I don't think it is right now, but we don't know where it's going, but just put that aside, you as a person, you're getting into the habit of abusing others. Do you
No,
not
that's
want-
just AI, because it's not a
But
person.
how do you know that in 5 months from now you might find yourself at a coffee shop and then just unwittingly say wrong when they give you the wrong? How do you know? But politeness, manners, it's a habit. We shouldn't break the habits. Anyway, Claude's got anxiety now, and I don't blame him. I have anxiety now.
You've never gone to a coffee shop and wanted to go wrong to the barista when they hand you your coffee and they haven't even spelt cocoa right?
It's just cock. That's what I get a lot.
Do you?
Or Coco Khan. So if it's very quick, it does come out cock.
Before we go, we asked this of any guests that come on first time. Any phrases in politics or otherwise you'd like to consign to the furnace, to chuck in the bin?
A phrase that really irks me is legitimate concerns. I mean, we know what it is. It's a rhetorical trick to ensure that the other person who's arguing back is essentially delegitimized from what they're saying. And also, who says what's legitimate? I mean, it's very much marking your own homework. Our voters have these legitimate concerns, says us, party of correct answers,
How about an illegitimate concern?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
What's an illegitimate concern?
Illegal concern.
Children are mistakes. They're all surprises. They're just
Before we go,
welcome
I
surprises.
suppose, other thing I read this week, TWAT. I'm not going to say it. TWAT. People used to describe themselves as that if they took Mondays and Fridays at home. And so they came in Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. They were known as TWATs. But there is now another use for that acronym, which is if you want everyone in a meeting to know exactly what you think of one person who's doing all the talking, who you think is talking nonsense, you say, there we are then, a lot. And once people pick up on the fact that you're saying, there we are then, a lot, the initials, there we are then, spell TWAT.
Is this real or is this QAnon?
No, it's real. I
This
saw.
AI, did
I
AI
saw.
I feel like there's like an over-analysis of business jargon and people are like, it's actually a secret message. Did you know it's a secret message about someone who was on the island or whatever? That's how this sounds a bit.
It's real. I saw it on social media.
Oh,
Well,
right.
Coco, there we are then.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Strong Message here. I'll be back next week. And why not go and listen to some of our episodes from our back catalogue with guests like Stuart Lee, Natalie Haynes, and of course Helen Lewis. Just search for Strong Message here. Subscribe on BBC Sounds. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, I'm Slim. When I was at school, my report card said,
He's clever, but not applying himself.
little did my teachers know, this kid from South London would go from driving a bus in Brixton to becoming the first black British comedian to sell out the London Palladium. So when my daughter asks me about my life,
what was it like?
I realised I've had a hell of a ride. So I'm going to tell my story through every decade from where I feel at home. On the comedy stage.
Yeah, man.
Slim's Guide to Life. Listen to the whole series now on BBC Sounds.